Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of our national anthem by the Kingdom Macros.
Good morning. On behalf of Unified School District 331 and Kingman High School, I would like to welcome all of you to this celebration of Veterans Day. It has been my extreme honor for the past 7 years to introduce the upcoming events and to have a small part in honoring our veterans today. As a nation, we have prospered because we have always had citizens willing to stand up and answer the call to serve. Today we honor our veterans, past and present, for their unyielding dedication and sacrifice to our great nation. For the past several years, Veterans Day has been celebrated amid unique challenges like our nation has never known before. The obstacles have been trying and the dangers have been real. The same dedication we witness in today's endeavors has preserved America in the toughest times throughout her history. Whether in peace or at war, the important role of our veterans cannot be denied. There are men and women from all walks of life, some young, some old, some ordinary, and some famous. But they share one thing in common: a love for this great country. In return for their many sacrifices, these brave individuals have asked very little. And thus it falls on to meet their selflessness with thankfulness. Today we have the privilege of honoring this very special group of Americans whose service spans every decade of our country's existence. We owe them a great deal. First and foremost, we owe them our freedom. And today especially, we owe them our gratitude. So on behalf of this community, school district, and Kingman High School, thank you. Our ceremony continues with our very special guest speaker who entered the United States Navy in March of 1952 and served 20 years. His assignments included Navy flight training at Pensacola, Florida, and graduation from the Naval Air Station in Hutchinson, Kansas, in multi-engine training. Experience since that time included typhoon tracking in the South Pacific, operating a survival school near Seattle, Washington, for air crews that were deploying to Alaska. He was a flight instructor at Corpus Christi, Texas, and was assigned to Operation Deep Freeze in Antarctica from 1960 to 1961. He was engaged in anti-submarine warfare on the USS Essex in the Atlantic Fleet during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. He served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam on the USS Intrepid from 1967 through 1969, and he was also assigned to Navy air operations at Naples, Italy. It is my great privilege to introduce to you Lieutenant Commander Cleland McBurney of the United States Navy, retired. Thank you.
King was not ready to resolve some of these until they drew up a charter. signed this charter of agreement with these rebel barons that they would be offered certain religious freedoms that they had not had before. Things like false imprisonment without trial, and rights for land ownership. In time, years later, this became known as the Magna Carta, or the Great Charter. And it was the first spark of freedom leading to, for the common man, leading to the constitutional government. We fast forward now for 400 years. November the 11th today, in 1620, on board the good ship Mayflower, the Pilgrims were leaving England for religious persecution, arrived at the colony that they were to make landing at what is known as Plymouth today. Before embarking on the ship the next day, they wrote up the Mayflower Compact, which guaranteed religious freedoms like they had never had before. And this is one of the things that they achieved coming into the New World. Then on the 4th of July, 1776, John Hancock penned the famous Declaration of Independence, commissioned by the Continental Congress, and included in this document are the words, "Behold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness." 85 years later these words were put to the test on April the 12th, 1864, when Fort Sumter was fired upon, and the war between the states began. The southern states called it the War of Secession, while the northern states called it the War of Rebellion. So on January 1st, 1863, Abraham Lincoln penned the Emancipation Proclamation, there abolishing slavery, giving freedom to all, another great stride in the march toward freedom. Today commemorates the 98th anniversary of the signing of the armistice between Germany and France, what was known as the Great War. Today we call it World War I. The end of the war came about through diplomatic negotiations with President Woodrow Wilson at the time that was to set up a meeting in the Compiègne Forest, which is part of northern France. A special rail car was provided for this meeting to take place. And the Allied commander at that time was French General Ferdinand Foch, who met with his German counterparts to make the signing of this armistice. And the agreement called for ceasefire to start on the 11th month, the 11th day, and the 11th hour of 1918. Not a surrender, but a gentleman's agreement to cease war. So it's called an armistice. And we call the event Armistice Day. And today, after the signing, until May 26th of 1954, when President Eisenhower redesignated the name to Veterans Day to honor all men and women serving in the military services. At that time, Veterans Day also became our federal holiday. At this point in the story, we've come a long way down the path of people of all nations yearning to be free. But do we have it yet? Is freedom really free? Our service personnel that we honor today know the answer to that. Either retired or active duty personnel know that freedom is never finished. It's always a working project, a working process. They gave their dedication to this task called freedom a long time ago. They're also called heroes for their selfless efforts in preserving our precious freedom that we have today. In 1915, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian physician serving overseas in France, while looked down and saw puppies going in a ditch nearby the gravesite. And Craig broke out a tablet, a pencil, and wrote down his feelings, expression that day in Flanders Field. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crossings row and row that mark our place, and in the sky, the lark still brightly singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break the faith of us who died, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. Does that remind you of the torch that the Statue of Liberty holds in New York Harbor? Holds it high, inviting people to the shore who want to breathe free. Isn't the word liberty just another word for freedom? I'm proud to say today that the torch has indeed been passed to the men and women of our armed forces, and they do hold the torch of freedom very high. Remember, freedom is not free. Keep the faith. May God continue to bless our many veterans, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McBurney. I'd like to introduce Mr. Bob Hope for the Camp Eagle USO Show.
I'm Bob, Camp Eagle Hope, and man, I am just thrilled to be here this morning. I want to thank our sponsor, Colgate, and remind everyone to keep those smiles gleaming white by brushing every day with Colgate. Unless you're a Democrat, in which case you won't be smiling anytime soon. You know, someone asked me today if I was going to tell any political jokes. I said, yes, my first joke is a political joke. They said, is it funny? I said, oh yes, it's Hillary us. Turn to the person next to you, they'll explain that to you. You know, in his first sentence of his acceptance speech, President-elect Trump thanked Hillary Clinton for her life of service. Quite a turnaround. Just a week ago, he wanted to sentence her to serve life. You know, Secretary Clinton says that she plans to spend the rest of her life in the private sector. I think she just wants to visit her emails. You know, I'm so honored to be here this morning. We have a great show for you. We're so happy that the veterans are here today. Let's begin this morning with the KHS Madrigal singing, Gee, I Wish I Were Back in the Army. wrote a version of that song for every branch of the military. Gee, I wish I was back in the Army. Gosh, I wish I was back in the Air Force. Shucks, I wish I was back in the Navy. And I'd tell you the name of the Marine song, but this is a G-rated show. And the Marines know what I'm talking about. You know, it was back in 1941 that the Marines gave us snafu. And kids, if you don't know what that means, don't ask me, find a Marine. I'd like to welcome to the stage Bailey Taylor singing Someone to Watch Over Me.
There's the same old says the love is gone. Still we're open to thinking he shall find. So I'm going to sing a song tonight I had been wrong. Looking everywhere, haven't found him yet. He's the big affair of an again. Only man I ever think of with regret. I'd like to write his initial to my monograph. Tell me, where is the shepherd for this lost lamb? There's a somebody longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone to watch over me. I'm a little nervous, lost in the world. I know I could always be good to one who watch over me. Although he may not be the one who's think of as lonesome, to my heart he carries the key. Won't you tell him please to put on some speed? Hello, oh how I need someone to watch over me.
Bailey, that was wonderful. Someone to watch over me. It sounds like the theme song for Homeland Security. You know, last week I went golfing with the Chief of Homeland Security, J. Charles Johnson. And when we finished, he invited me to Guantanamo. I said, why? He said he felt like having terrorists caddy for me would be more effective than waterboarding. Boy, though, isn't this weather wonderful? You know, it's really hard for me to dislike global warming when I'm golfing in November. Golf Pro, I asked him how I could improve my driving. He said, keep two hands on the steering wheel. I'm in the water so much, my golf cart is a canoe. You know, the next performer is Wyatt Smith singing Ballad of the Green Beret. Please welcome.
making one of America's best. He'll be a man that's yesterday, as we win the Green Beret.
You know, that song reminds me of the real sacrifices that our veterans have made. I don't have that kind of deep self-sacrifice in me. I feel magnanimous when I let someone put out and I'm still away. You know, we didn't elect our first woman president, but we are still getting more diverse in the White House. We've had a white president, we've had a black president, and now we'll have an orange one. You know, someone asked President-elect Trump how he was going to handle the economy. He said, sometimes you just have to grab a bull by the horns. Thank goodness he thinks the economy is a bull and not a cow. I think we better move along before I get myself in trouble. Please welcome the Andrews Sisters performing Boogie Woogie Bugle Pull. If he still jumps when he hears Reveille, he said only if it's played on a duck call. You know, hunting season is here, and Kansas just passed a constitutional amendment protecting Kansans' rights to hunt and fish in the state. And protests are all the rage, and in what I think is an extravagant protest, deers across the state have started throwing themselves in front of cars. Now, I have to tell you a true story. I wrote that. I don't know if you found that joke funny or not, but God apparently did. Because I wrote that joke 2 days ago, and last night, my son hit a deer. You know, it's great to live in a country where our servicemen and women risk their lives so that schmucks like me can have freedoms of speech and expression. Whether that means standing up here and telling jokes about our government, or kneeling during the Pledge of Allegiance. But I'm also proud to be performing in a community where young people are taught to respect and honor those freedoms. And in as an example of that kind of honor and respect, we have a special presentation from the Kingdom Middle School Gifted Program, and they're going to give us a demonstration of how to properly fold the American flag. young people today. You can teach them to fold a flag with military precision, but neither one of those two can make a bed. You know, I overheard one of our veterans asking one of our young people, a teenager, about how texting is changing language. The teen told the veteran, "You probably just wouldn't understand." The veteran said, "Son, I'm going to break this down for you Barney style. When I was serving and my CO walked up to me at 0:30 and said he needed me FMC at the FOB, I got full battle rattle and turn 2 so I could move out and draw fire, because anything less was unsaid would result in a warm soup sandwich. I think I can handle your text message." Has a message about growing up in America. Please welcome Olivia Nices singing American Honey.
She grew up on the side of the road when the church bells ring, strong roads. She grew up good, she grew up slow, like American honey. Steady as a preacher, free as a weed, couldn't wait to get going.
Oh, what a beautiful voice. You know, I took voice lessons from the same director who worked with the famous tenor Pavarotti. And he told me I have two things in common with every great singer he had ever worked with. Hands. You know, I sang in a choir. I had my very own part. The guy on my right right sang the quarter notes. The guy on my left sang the eighth notes. I sang the rests. My director said I was the only musician he had ever seen who turned the pages in the wrong key. But help me welcome someone now who sings beautifully in the right key. Alyssa Graber performing Bumper of My SUV. A Trumper sticker. Trump had his first meeting with President Obama yesterday. President Obama said he wanted to make the transition of power as smooth as possible, to which the President-elect Trump responded, "You're fired." In a meeting today, President-elect Trump Trump will begin receiving all the same top secret classified briefings that the president receives. And Trump's chief advisor said if Trump shows he can responsibly handle the nuclear codes, they'll consider giving him his Twitter account back. You know, no matter who the president is, it's always been Americans that have made America great. And here to remind us of that, please welcome back our final performers, the Kingman High School Madrigals, singing God Bless the USA. Now, 60 years ago, I closed a show with some words about our troops serving overseas, and I want to use those same words again today. You know, right now, a terrible menace to civilization is being confronted, and many men of goodwill are sitting together to create out of chaos and disaster a new world. But right now, every everyone is saying, congratulations, you great guys over there. You've done a wonderful job. And every decent person in the whole world is saying, congratulations and thank you. Thanks for the memories, commitment that you made, the sacrifice you gave, the ones who fell your suit as well. We think you're awfully brave, so thank you so much. And thanks for the memories, courage that you find, for loved ones left behind, the price you pay to keep us safe. You're always on our minds, so thank you so much for the memories. Thank you, God bless.
Greenlight Event is a program started by Walmart, encouraging people to change a light bulb outside their house to a green bulb and keep it glowing every day as a symbol of support for our veterans. We have an example of one of these lights displayed on the right of the stage. After installing the green light, people can visit greenlightevent.com and map their light and see where other people are participating in this program around the nation.
Today, we would like to distribute green light bulbs to all of you in the crowd. There's a table set up outside the doors in the commons area with 75 light bulbs on it. We would like each of you in the crowd to take one with no charge to you. If you would take one and put it outside your house, it would show that our community supports our veterans and troops. We would also encourage you to spread the word to people that are not here so they can get their own green light bulbs for their houses. Thank you to all the veterans that are here. Thank you for your service and have a wonderful day.
Of those 250 items, we are needing gently used clothes, new men's and women's underwear, coffee, magazines, telephone cards, and toiletries, such as deodorant, shaving needs, toothpaste and toothbrushes, shampoo, conditioner, and toilet paper. Donations can be dropped off here at the KHS, and there will be a collection box in front of the office. Here's Ashley Sowers to describe a few of our fundraisers.
A few ways we are raising money in the community are with our Eagle Classic basketball tournament hosted here at KHS and during our local Christmas parade. During the Christmas parade, we will be having a free will donation bake sale. Also, during our Eagle Classic basketball tournament, we will have a donation table and a 50-50 raffle for both championships games. We hope to see everyone out there in an effort to reach our goal.
At this time, we would like to recognize those veterans who are here with us today, as well as those veterans who couldn't be here. Please hold your applause until the end. Harold Addison, Army. Vernon Albright, Army. Stan Baker, U.S. Air Force.
Darren Beck, Army. Robert Belt, Air Force. Bill Bemis, Navy.
Leroy Moore, Army. Dave Britton, Naval Aviation. Reg Cappers, Navy, Army.
Calvin Clark, Air Force. Terry Cushionberry, Navy. Robert DeFore, Navy.
Wayne Dick, Air Force. Leonard Donnelly, Army. Dr. Lester Donnelly, Army.
Ellis, Army. Ronnie Fankhauser, Army. Dawn Fisher, Army.
Victor Faust, Army. Ted Geiser, Army. Charles Gerber, Air Force.
Julius Gobert, Navy. Jim Graber, Army Reserves. Roger Gracie, Air Force.
Paul Hankins, Army Air Corps. Dwayne Hanna, Air Force. Don Hawkins, Army.
Chris Hemingway, Army. John Hemingway, Army. Charlie Vincent Henning, Navy.
Ted Hoyt, Marines. Chester James, Air Force. Gilbert Kaiser, Army.
Travis Kaufman, Marines. Roman Kirshen, Navy. Ron Kinsler, Kansas Air Guard, Air Force.
Tom Costner, Air Force. Marvin Lind, Navy. Al Lewis, Army.
Cleveland McBurney, Navy. Kathy McGilrath, Air Force. Leroy Meisenheimer, Army.
Joe May, Army. Charles Miller, National Guard. Larry Moots, Army.
Larry Nelson, Air Force, Kansas Air National Guard. Don Nett, Army. Robert Needleman, Navy.
John Parsons, Air Force. Charles Patton, Air Force, Army. Dave Pierce, Army.
John Pearson III, Navy. Larry Pierce, Navy. Leroy Reed, Army National Guard.
James Roberts, Sr., Air Force. Jack Rowe, Air Force. Ron Sawyer, Army.
Frank Smith, Army. Joe Smith, Air Force. Mark Smith, Army.
Terry Tatro, Navy Seabees. Art Thompson, Army. Andy Thornton, Navy.
Wayne Townley, Navy. David Wallace, Navy. Les Wing,
Jim Zenzinger, Air Force. Liz Ziegler, Army, National Guard.
In memory of Roy Williams, Army, Bill Fry, Navy, Jack Archer, Army, Frank Albers, Army, Donald Peter Henning, Navy, Wayne Moody, Coast Guard, Bobby A. Lunsford, Air Force, Leroy McGinnis, Navy, Floyd Dixon, Army, Wayne Kuhn, Army, Richard Fletcher, Marine, Aaron Joseph Edom, Army, Don Cushenberry, Navy, and Kenny Weems, Army.
Hi, I'm Ross Brotherman, government teacher here at Kingman High School. I have a few notes to kind of announce before we wrap up and retire the colors and get you guys to a reception out in the commons area. I want to thank a few people for making this day possible. First, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you speaking to us. Dr. Nick Rock, thanks for your district local. Thank you for everything you've done to make this possible. Thanks to Bob Hope, Seth Rowe. I think he's back behind. He does a great job every year. Makes my life pretty easy. Thanks to Nicole Kirshen. I know we've had some stressful moments, but you've done a great job. Sam Bradley, I think she's already out there, but she did all the work with her students getting the reception stuff ready. Dixon True Value donated some of the light bulbs to us for our Green Light event program, so they made that possible, so I want to thank them. Susan Winiger, thank you for keeping me on track through this whole thing. Susan kind of acts as my right hand woman, kind of making sure I don't get off track, so thank you. And then one last kind of heartfelt thank you to all veterans and active duty for everything you guys do to protect our freedoms. After we retire the colors here in just a moment, we're going to dismiss the high school student body back to 4th hour and the middle school students to their buses to leave. So, okay, thank you.